but is he good for college football? We're going to talk about that and more today. Let's do it! All right, guys, welcome back to the Fit Fat Dad podcast, where it's two dads who are kind of fit, kind of fat. We're going to talk all things faith, family, fitness, and let's just add on the fourth thing.
I love it. Football,
baby.
It's football season.
It's football season. All right, so here's my hot take.
Yep.
Deion Sanders is great for college football.
100% agree.
Do you?
Yes.
So we're not going to argue today.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's some things that he could dial back, but the way he's running his team, I think it's great for college football.
So here's what the haters will tell you. That he's egotistical and self-promoting. That his actions, here's one, his actions are a direct conflict with his belief in Jesus Christ. His recruiting methods and the way he manages his team are borderline illegal, and he's not a real coach, but a celebrity on the sidelines.
Well, I mean, I think he proved all of that wrong on Saturday.
Man.
I mean, when you take a 1-11 team, and if you look at the stats that they had last year, and then you bring, and here's my thing. One of the big things that was put out there was Deion going in, his first thing and said, hey, I'm bringing, Louis Vuitton. You just go ahead and hit the transfer portal or something.
I'm bringing my baggage.
Yeah, that's right.
Louis Vuitton.
That's right. And,
he didn't want no Samsonite hanging out in his locker room.
That's right. But, I mean, how many kids transferred? I mean, I think there was only one starter from last year's team, and it was that safety that made the pick.
Yeah.
Okay. If a lot of times when corporations, what do? They clean house. They clean house.
Yeah.
So that's what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's running like a business. And at this day and age, college football, it's a business.
It's a business. The NCAA has allowed it to go on. So let's get into some of those. Let's take this from the way that the haters have been picking about. And unless you've been sleeping under a rock, social media is absolutely blown up on their takes on Deion Sanders. A lot of positive, a lot of negative.
Yep.
And I've really actually seen more of the haters continue to hate more. And so the biggest thing that they say about Deion is he's egotistical and self-promoting. So I've got an interesting story here. When I was a kid, probably my son's age, I was probably 8, right? So my dad worked for Reebok, and they were opening up Just for Feet in Birmingham. And he's like, hey, there's some people I want you to meet. Do you want to go to the airport and meet them? And so I got to ride in a limo to pick up Derek Thomas.
Oh, wow.
In my opinion, GOAT linebacker of all time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Played for Alabama, played for the Chiefs. And so I remember it was me and this reporter and Derek Thomas riding in a limo. And this reporter is just like, asking a million questions. And then there was silence. And I'm sitting next to this just huge giant of a man.
Yeah.
And I had one question. And I don't know as a kid why you think of these questions. But the question I asked him, I said, Mr. Thomas, I bet you really hate that Deion Sanders, don't you? The one question. Looking back on life, I'm like, come on, man. Of all the questions, and he said something in that moment. So this is 30 years ago. And he said, brother, and he laughed. He said, I love Deion. He's like, that man he loves the Lord. He encourages everybody else. I love Deion. He is a brother from another mother. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And this was back when he was like prime time. Right. Like just every time. But so that was very interesting to me that, and to me, it's one of my childhood idols to say that about Deion. And at that time, I did not like Deion.
Yeah.
I don't like his flashiness. I did not like the way he kind of showboated on the field. But that said a lot, like that his peer network has that much respect. So let's talk about Prime. Coach Prime, the fact that he labels himself with his own brand as his coach. But I mean, to you, Blair, do you see that as like, is that really who he is? Or do you see that more of like, this is his persona as a platform to get people to actually tune in and listen to him?
I think it's who he is. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed from Prime as in when he was, playing football and baseball at the same time, right? Many people forget about that.
Yeah.
Right? Even in leading into, now he's coaching. And by the way, he doesn't have to coach. Like, the guy's got enough money.
Yeah.
Like, he's set for life, obviously. So, why he's doing this, is for the kids and to raise young men. And he's doing it his way. And you know what? If that agitates some people, I don't think he really cares.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
To quote Deion Sanders, "You didn't make me, so you can't break me."
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I was listening to the first press conference of the week one before they played TCU, and just listened to him talk and some of the things he said. And one of the things that I actually want to start incorporating into my routine is he says he gets up every morning, and as you would expect a football coach, getting up at like 4 in the morning. And he said he gets up and he picks a theme for the day every day, and he prays over it. And then he goes into the locker room, puts it on the board, and that's their theme for the day.
I love it.
That's a lot of themes.
That's a lot of themes.
That's a lot of themes.
Yeah.
But what I really liked is that he prayed over it.
Yeah.
So that means he's setting the tone in prayer based on what God's putting on his heart.
Yep.
And that's what he's putting on the team to do for the day, and they go out and get after it. So let me ask you about this. So getting back to his egotistical, I'm just so amazed if you've watched any of the videos, like who shows up to support him at practice. You got Warren Sapp, Michael Irvin. I mean, it's a phone call away. LeBron, all these huge names. And the guys that he played with, and that would show up at the brink of a text.
Yeah.
If Deion was so self-serving and selfish, would those guys do that?
You took the words out of my mouth, and I was wanting to bring that up when you're talking about the egotistical and it goes back to what you learned in the limo. He said, "I love this man loves the Lord, and he would do anything for you," and that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So the man hasn't changed, and if you were so self-serving, your peers, they wouldn't be around you. They wouldn't want to come to your practice and support you and support what you're doing for these young kids.
Yeah. I was reading, and it was an old Cowboys article, and it said, outside of prime, the real Deion is boring. I was like, okay, well, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
He doesn't drink.
Yeah.
Which I can't say that,
Yeah.
right? He doesn't smoke. He doesn't get high, right? He doesn't cheat on his wife. All of these things that a lot of the other celebrity networks and NFL networks, like, that's why it's boring. I'm like, but that's an upstanding citizen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he chalks that up to, because I guess his biological father did all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want anything to do with that. Another interesting thing is just look at the loyalty of his guys.
That's right.
That he coaches.
Yeah.
So the rumor is out there that, it's not a rumor. The number one overall recruit in the, was it 2020 class, 2019, Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
I mean, he chose the FCS HBCU.
Yeah.
And at that time, Jackson State was not
No.
not anything.
No.
And so he chose that on the promise of going to go play for Deion.
Right.
So now he's at Colorado, which by any means is not a prominent school. And Travis Hunter could have gone to anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's rumors out there that he got offered collective $1.5 million to go to these other schools, unnamed. Right.
Wow. And
he didn't go.
Yeah.
Because Deion, he's already bought in, right?
Yeah.
That Deion's going to provide so much better.
Right.
And I thought that is, look at the guy and all of his coaches from Jackson State.
Yeah.
And I know we could say, hey, is that loyalty or they're just going to go make more money and a better offer? But I mean, they all went over.
So think about this. All right. Colorado didn't have the money. Have you heard that story?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. So their president or whoever, athletic director, came out and said, when we signed Deion to the $25 million contract, he said, we didn't have the money, but we were going to make it work. We were going to figure it out. And that, I think the article I was reading said that after they signed him, they've raised through donations like just under what his salary is in the first year, and they sold out, everything.
Yeah.
But that's how much they believed in what Deion was going to do for Colorado. Is like, we don't have the money, we're signing you. And if that's not a faith thing,
So I firmly believe that Colorado was like, well, we're 1-11.
yeah,
We can't do any worse.
yeah,
And we can instantly bring in this guy who's going to bolster our brand, sell out tickets.
Yep.
And even if we don't win a game,
Yeah.
we're better.
yeah,
because he's going to just the amount of attention that he brings.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I think that's maybe what their thought process was.
Yeah.
Oh boy, did they get more than they were for. So I'm going to go out and claim it. The man reflects God, and that's what people see.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the prime sense, right? But I firmly believe that prime is his platform to get people's ears to listen.
Yep.
And then once he brings them in, he's sharing the real message. So that's the Holy Spirit that you're seeing in him, and I think that's great. So let's move on to number 2. This one is very controversial. We could spend all day here, but I've seen it multiple times that the way he acts is a direct conflict with this belief in Jesus Christ. So I'm going to shut this down right here. All right. How so? Right? Yeah. Because he sins? Oh boy. We wouldn't need Jesus if we didn't sin.
That's right.
Okay. So there we go.
Yep. Agree.
We're all sinners.
Yep.
So
that's easy.
Boom. All right. So
I mean,
golly, if everybody's walking around with me under a microscope every day, they'd be saying like, "Hey, look what that cat did." Yeah. All right. So I guess I don't deserve salvation, right? So did you watch the game Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you see Coach Prime's his coaching? Of course, I don't know how he's wearing a sweatshirt at 105 in Dallas, but his sleeve said JC. Like, on the coach. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Let's go.
Yeah.
He's got millions of viewers in there.
Yep.
Not ashamed to share the gospel.
No.
Did you know that earlier this year, I think there was 2 grievances filed against Deion and the university for the way that he prays over his players.
Are you serious? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know if I wouldn't think it would be the university, but it was somebody representing him, or they came back and basically said, hey, you can't file a grievance because he has every right to express his religious beliefs in a public institution.
Well,
it's freedom of speech.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say Colorado is the most conservative place on earth.
Negative Ghost Rider.
But for them to say that, like, that's big. Because, I mean, everything around here now, you hear about it. Well, you can't pray. You can't do these things. And, again, it's against the First Amendment.
Yeah.
But there's so much more pushback now of praying in a public space and praying in a university setting. Like, it doesn't surprise me that there were grievances. But kudos to Colorado for saying, no, that's his First Amendment right.
And again, I don't know if it was their Second Amendment, but I don't know if that was, no, Second Amendment is definitely not in Colorado. So I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
Shows how much, First Amendment right. Okay, right. Everybody right now, the comments are like, you idiot. Hey, it
that's
is
like 8th grade history.
Exactly. How long ago was 8th grade? All right. So I think we shut that down, man. It's again, I'm not in that locker room, but you can tell by the way that his players responded and respond.
Absolutely.
And even his players, they talked about blessings.
Yep.
They talked about God. They talked about, and I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, I'm in. I'm in on Coach Brian. All right. His recruiting and management of the team are borderline illegal. You opened it up. So 73 at one point. I think ESPN says something about 83 players entered the transfer portal. And everybody, even Corso on game day, was talking about how he didn't believe that and he didn't like how he was handled, and they all talked about him. And I too was kind of like, all right, this is just fly by the moment. He's taking advantage of everything. Whatever. It freaking worked.
Yeah.
And I started doing some reflecting on this. And so here's just one thing. And I've experienced this with my wife in her first season. I think I know for a fact if she had to do it all over again, there would have been some house cleaning.
Yeah.
Because if you have freshmen that aren't bought in, right? And it's a different age now, but if you have freshmen that aren't bought in, they don't believe in your process, they develop a cancer in your culture.
Yeah.
And if they hang around and you don't kick them off, that cancer grows over the course of 4 to 5 years.
Absolutely.
And it multiplies because they take other people with them.
Yeah.
And it could just be one bad seed.
Well, I think as somebody that manages a team and, owns a business, I've seen that in my team.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if if I were to take over a business or take over something like that, I mean, there would have to be a lot of evaluation that's going on, and it's either you are getting on this train or you're getting off. And, you know, everybody looks at the numbers and they see what social media's post, but maybe Prime did that. Maybe he sat down with all of these and said, hey, this is how we're going to do things. And if you're not going to get on board, you know, hit the dusty trail. It may or may not have anything to do with athletically. Maybe it was like, hey, this is the culture we're going to have.
Yeah.
And either you adapt and conform or be with us, or hit the road. And maybe that was the decision that they made.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it, right? Like, I can understand the mentality from those kids that were there, right? They probably didn't receive the best coaching. They can say, hey, it's not my fault that we went 1-11. And there are probably phenomenal athletes on that team that can go play at any Power 5.
Yeah.
I'll quote it. Any Power 5. But that's not against them. And I've played on my share of bad teams.
Yeah.
Right. And it becomes the hey, we're playing for pride after a while. And but here I was having a very interesting conversation, and here's a point. So the way that Colorado never quit Saturday, they always rebounded.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't know how to lose.
That's right.
They didn't know how to lose. And a lot of those kids came from Jackson State, Alabama, top programs.
Yeah.
So they didn't know how to lose. It was beyond talent.
Right.
So they never worried. They never panicked. They didn't have the attitude of like, oh my God, we're this close against number 17 TCU. We can't screw up now. They're like, dude, these cats ain't anything.
Right.
Let's go out and get ours.
Yeah.
And they rebounded.
Yeah.
And the point was made, had you had that 1-11, even if you turned around their athletic ability, even if you brought in new training requirements, the mental state of they don't know how to win.
Right.
That's something that you can't turn around.
No.
That's a huge difference. That's why when you bring these kids in, and it's never been done like that before, where you just completely clean house. There's never been the ability to do that.
That's right.
So I think that was a really good thing. And Saban did the same thing, but he didn't have the transfer portal. He
just said, you're gone. You're
out.
Yep.
You're out. Even big name kids.
Oh, yeah.
Attitude problems. I'm not going to buy into that.
Yep.
Man, I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. I'm not doing that, Coach. That's not how we've done it around here.
And look where you were.
Yeah. And you know what? 6 national titles later.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing that we'll hit, and then we'll close up. He's not a real coach, but a celebrity on the sidelines. Hey, here's been my thought for the longest time until this past Saturday, that there's a lot of truth in that. But he could surround himself with great coordinators,
absolutely,
great coaches, and a great pipeline of network. I think I'm wrong there. I think he's gone out and assembled himself a great squad.
I mean, okay, so what do all great coaches have? They have their surroundings. I mean, okay, we just talked about Saban. I mean, look at how many head coaches have been on Saban's staff as a coordinator or as an analyst or whatever it is. Yes, Saban is a fantastic coach, but he surrounds himself with amazing coaches.
Yep.
That's what Deion's. And I will be very surprised if you don't hear some of Deion's coordinators' names, maybe not head coaches, but going into, big time schools as coordinators or things like that. I mean, especially what they showed on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, if that continues to run, I mean, it's going to be hard pressed for say that, hey, he's not a great coach.
Yep. Well, and then again, I think Deion for the first time I say first time, but even though he won at Jackson State, and I'm an FCS guy, Sanford Bulldogs all the way, even if you win multiple national titles at FCS, you're not going to draw the level of attention that he got on Saturday.
Oh yeah,
and that brings a whole nother level of pressure.
Yeah,
and so right now, they're Matt Rule in Nebraska's loving the situation that they're in.
Oh, absolutely.
And no spotlight on them. They don't have a chance. So now it's flipped. They don't get to play that underdog. So it'll be really interesting to see how he motivates his guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they respond on Saturday.
Yeah.
If they come out and handle business and just lay it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, business trip.
That's right.
I'm already impressed. That's, saving replacement.
I was talking about that. I was talking to somebody about that. His son Shador, is it? He's a sophomore.
it just depends on. I feel like he should be a junior, but COVID year, things like that.
So I was talking to somebody about that, and we were like, okay, how long is Sanders going to coach? Like, how long is he really how long is he really going to do this? And I said, my thoughts is he's probably going to get through Shador, coach his son, and then
he's got another son on the team too.
Are they the same age? Or a year younger?
I think one's a year younger.
Okay. Well, so maybe he stays at Colorado for the next, say 3-4 years, build his brand. And, I think a big Power 5 may be calling and saying, hey, bring it on. That's an interesting personality for Bama, though, going from Saban to Prime.
I think they, it is. And maybe that's why it's going to be a complete, but I don't think they're so different. I really don't.
No.
I think one is just more like Saban.
He's still bold. It's just in his own way.
In his own way.
That's right.
So it's, the guys in this day and age, like Saban with this generation, I don't know that they respond well. I mean, you look at we're going down a different conversation, but the Lane Kiffins of the world. Lane Kiffin's figured it out. Like, all these coaches have got to figure out how to relate to the Gen Z audience. And Saban can do that because Saban is freaking...
That's it.
Saban.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed our take on Deion Sanders, and we both agree that he's great for college football. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time. We're out.
Let's go.
Let's go.